9,322, 9,323.
Is he counting sand?
I think so. Or maybe counting the atoms in banana skin.
Correct. I am determining the precise number of atoms in this molecule of the banana peel and the maximum grains of sand that can fit in this graduated cylinder.
So the answer is a lot?
Incorrect. The answer will be exactly right once I finish counting. Now, 9,324.
Edwin, you might want to take a break and look at what we've got for you.
Kenneth, wait, science is happening.
But this is your favorite banana split sundae.
Yes, but the pursuit of knowledge is sweeter than...
What, bud?
Wait, you've been holding that this entire time?
Yep.
And I missed it. I was so focused on counting the grains of sand that I failed to perceive the dessert of destiny right in front of me.
Exactly.
Tragic. Now it may not be at the optimal temperature to achieve the freezing chill of the ice cream along with the warm, gooey kiss of the hot fudge. I have missed perfection.
Kind of like in how today's Bible story, some people almost missed something way bigger and way more awesome that was right in front of them.
Yeah, we're talking about joy that never ends because of the bigger story God's telling.
Can I have the sundae now?
After the intro. Welcome to Story Lab,
where we discover the amazing story of what God's doing in us
and through us.
So, Edwin, we're taking a break from counting grains of sand?
Without question. However, I have decided that from now on, I will always pay more attention to my surroundings. Delicious.
That's actually a good plan, because sometimes, if we're not paying attention, we can actually miss some really important things.
Way more important than hot fudge?
There are more important things than hot fudge? You lie, Pharisee!
We're not lying. Sometimes God is doing something amazing right around us, but if we're too focused on our own little projects or lists,
or whatever we're trying to figure out,
we might miss the bigger story he's telling.
Bigger story. Interesting. Is this bigger story edible?
Not exactly, but it is something that can fill you with joy that never ends.
Even if everything else around you is confusing or uncertain.
That sounds mysterious. Like a code I need to crack.
Well, there were two people who once were trying to figure out a mystery.
Yep, they were walking and talking together about everything that had just happened.
Oh, did they crack the code? Did they find the answer?
Let's just say they discovered the biggest reason for joy in the history of the world.
And it was right in front of them the whole time.
Mind blown.
Sounds like it's time for...
Did you know that when you smell some delicious food, it alerts your brain and then triggers your digestive system to get to work even before you take a bite?
Oh, hello, Professor.
Oh, hi, Edwin.
Hello, yes, since Lexicon is offline, we wondered if you could tell our Bible story today. It's the one about the two friends of Jesus walking down the road together.
Oh, that's pretty fitting, actually, because in that story, bread reveals something even more amazing about how brains work. Let's see. That story is found in Luke 24, 13 through 35. Okay, I got this. Okay, now as you can imagine, in this story, Jesus' friends had just been through a roller coaster of emotions, like from cheers on Palm Sunday to sadness of his arrest and death to confusion the days after. Two of these followers were a man named Cleopas and his friend. And we don't know much else about them except that on Easter Sunday afternoon, they set out on a 7-mile walk from Jerusalem to the little town of Emmaus. And as they walked, they were talking about everything that had just happened.
Trying to make sense of it all, I suppose.
Exactly. But then a man joined them. Spoiler alert, it was Jesus! But here's the twist. They didn't recognize him, at all. Jesus asked them, "What are you two talking about as you walk along the road?"
Well, I mean, it was Jesus. He already knew what they were saying.
Yes, but Jesus knew it was important for them to talk about it. The men stopped walking. Their faces were sad. They asked him, Are you the only person visiting Jerusalem who doesn't know? Don't you know about the things that have happened the last few days? And Jesus asked them, what things?
Oh my, he's really stringing them along, isn't he?
Yeah, but for a good reason. And you've got to admit, Jesus has a great sense of humor.
Oh yes.
So the two men explained there was this prophet, powerful in word and deed, but our leaders handed him over. They nailed him to a cross and he died. And we were hoping that he was the one who would set Israel free. Now his tomb is empty. Some say that he's alive, but we don't know what to believe.
I'm with them. They must have been excessively confusing.
Well, Cleopas and his friends might have expected Jesus to be shocked, but instead he said, how foolish you are! How long it takes you to believe what the prophets said! Didn't the Messiah have to suffer these things and then receive his glory?
Yes, Jesus fulfilled hundreds of promises from God, written down by the prophets.
That's right. So then Jesus did something incredible. As they walked along, he started to explain everything that was written in Scripture, from Moses in the beginning all the way to the prophets, and how all of it pointed straight to him. Imagine hearing Jesus himself explain the entire story of God's rescue plan to you, and about how it was all about him. As they got to the village, Jesus acted like he was going to keep on walking, but Cleopas and his friends were enjoying the conversation so much they didn't want it to end. They asked Jesus to stay with them since it was already pretty late in the day.
Come have a snack.
But then, as Jesus took the bread and broke it and then handed it to them, God opened their eyes and they realized they were sitting and talking with Jesus.
No mere illusion, but the real deal.
And then, poof, Jesus disappeared. Cleopas and his friends were so excited that they raced all the way back to Jerusalem. Cleopas and his friend shared everything that had happened with Jesus' disciples. Everyone was amazed. They went from confused to sad to overjoyed because they realized they were a part of a much bigger story. And that story is still going on and changing lives, including their own.
Fascinating how Cleopas and his friend walked with Jesus for miles, but didn't even know it was him.
But once they recognized him, their sadness turned into deep joy.
Yes, because they realized Jesus was alive and the story was far from over.
These friends thought that the ending had already been written, but God's story was still going on, and the same is true for us. No matter how confusing or hard life feels sometimes, we can still have joy because God's story is way bigger than whatever we're facing.
And sometimes the biggest story is right in front of you, like a banana split. Or, the risen Son of God. Imagine if it was Jesus with a banana split. Oh, the ultimate surprise.
Yeah, I agree. Our part is to remember that God's story is still going and that we're in it. We can have joy even when things are uncertain because we know how the story ends. Jesus wins.
Yes. Thank you, Professor. It's been enlightening.
You're welcome, Edwin.
So here's the thing. You can have joy because there is a bigger story.
A story that started long before you were born and will keep going forever.
Which means no matter what happens today, there's always room for joy.
That's it for today's episode of Story Lab.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yes, now, if you'll excuse me, I need to run a highly scientific experiment to find out if joy increases with more whipped cream.
Let us know how that works out, Edwin.
Oh dear. I seem to be crashing from all the sugar.
Another banana split coma.
I'm afraid so.
Looks like it's nap time for Edwin.
We'll get you to the break room.
Indeed. Post haste, please.
Edwin, how many fingers?
We'll see you next time, everybody.
It's bad.
Where am I?